Good morning, Dreamhouse Nation. James Lewis of TDH joining us today. From the Spin Doctors is Chris Barron. Chris, thank you for joining us today.
Oh, man, thank you. I really appreciate you having me on the air.
Oh, it is a pleasure. Big fan of yours. Always enjoyed your music, and I'm especially excited to tell our listeners that you're going to be performing in the Ludlow Garage in Cincinnati, Ohio on Friday, January 13th. That's going to be huge. So a great opportunity for our listeners to buy Christmas tickets or buy tickets for Christmas presents for your big show.
Yeah, that's actually a brilliant idea. The tickets to a concert make a superb Christmas gift.
Exactly, because it's two gifts in one, in my opinion. Because, of course, when you hand them the gift, you know, they're thankful and appreciative. You give them the gift at the time, but then they also look back when they go on the experience. They go to the concert, so you're really giving them two gifts in one.
James, you are a very thoughtful fellow, aren't you?
I try to be. Shoot.
You must be a delight to be friends with.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, I was going to say, shoot, I'm one of those folks that love planning ahead stuff. Like, for example, even though this don't relate to it, I'm going to tell a quick story. I always love taking the missus out for Valentine's Day on Super Bowl Sunday, because then you can get a table places.
That's brilliant. My wife and I actually met on Valentine's Day, and we got married on Valentine's Day.
Oh, that is so cool. Nice.
Yeah, it's the anniversary of our meeting, and then we got married on a Tuesday night in Ohio, in Columbus, Ohio. I hope I'm not setting off some kind of like interscene rivalry by mentioning Columbus and the Cincinnati.
No, that's perfect, because our show airs in both markets.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah, so that works perfect.
We got married at it's called like Smith's Hardware. It's an old warehouse, and it was a wintry day in February, of course, because it was Valentine's Day, and it was like 20 degrees out, and we had people from Spain, and my Norwegian friends were there, and they were like, "This is colder than Norway."
Oh wow, yeah, that's saying something, because that place is pretty darn cold.
It is really cold.
That's cool. Yeah, small world. So, speaking of a small world, what was life like living in Australia?
Oh, man. That is really funny you should ask that, because I've been sort of like having kind of an Australian couple of days, because I've been watching Chris Hemsworth's series Limitless, and just him and his like Australian family and friends, like just, you know, speaking in that accent and stuff like that. It's really funny, and their sense of humor is just like killing me. Like the way they, like, you know, Australians have this great sense of humor, which took me a while to get used to as an American kid, where they just don't take themselves seriously and they don't take other people seriously. They call it taking the piss, or like sending up. So there's a lot of like satirical humor. So it's just very, very, like, very funny people, very cool, very laid back. And like, basically, like, you're sitting around like making fun of each other, and you can say anything to your friends, but then like when it's your turn to be made fun of, like, you'd better be cool about it.
Exactly. It's all about, if you can dish it out, you got to be able to take it.
Yeah, so, I moved there when I was 8, and I left when I was about 12. So a lot of, like, my, like, that age, I think, is an age where you form a lot of your tastes and a lot of your, like, sort of kid comfort stuff. So, like, my comfort foods are, like, Vegemite and toast and, just, like, these funny Australian TV shows called, like, this show called Daryl and Ozzy, that when I go back there, people are like, "Oh man, I can't believe you remember Daryl and Ozzy." So yeah, it kind of discombobulated me for a while, because I grew up with like cricket instead of baseball, and rugby instead of football, and I got kind of turned around a little bit, but I'm almost back to normal now, except that I'm a lead singer in a rock band, which would destabilize anybody.
Exactly. So shoot, I mean, some great experiences there, great experiences in the Bronx, ended up going to Princeton High School. I mean, just a lot of interesting things that happened to you early on before the band.
Yeah, well, what's cool about Princeton High School was it was really sort of a hotbed of talent, Princeton in general. I went to high school with John Popper and the guys from Blues Traveler, who I'm still really good friends with. I've actually done a couple of solo shows opening up for them recently, which was really fun because that's how I got my start. I moved to New York City basically because Bobby, their late great bass player, basically, dared me to. He came back. They were living in New York, and I was still living in Princeton. They came back, and I had already written like Jimmy Olsen's Blues and Two Princes, a couple of Spin Doctor hits, and I played those songs for them, and they were like, "Man, you should move to New York City," and I was like, "Wow, that's huge. I don't know if I could do that." And later on, Bobby and I were hanging out by this fountain in Princeton. He was like, "I dare you to take all your clothes off, jump in the fountain." So I just was like, whatever. Took all my clothes off, jumped in the fountain, standing there, got out of the fountain, standing there dripping wet, stark naked, next to Bobby, and he goes, "Okay, now I dare you to move to New York City." And I was like, "Oh, busted." So I did, and I lived with those guys, and I used to play solo acoustic in between their sets when I barely knew what I was doing. I barely knew how to, play a guitar and tune it, let alone deal with like a hardened New York City audience. But I sort of jumped into the deep end, and those guys are the guys who threw me in.
Yeah, I'm definitely glad that you changed the band names because some of them were a little out there. What was it? Dead Alcoholics with Boners and the Funny Bunnies?
Yeah, the Fun Bunnies. Yeah, that my first band was the Dead Alcoholics with Boners. And then, I was in a band with my best friend, Ben Lewis, who's a brilliant songwriter, called the Fun Bunnies. And then basically I was hounding John Popper to do something musical with me because, growing up with John, you just knew if you could get him into your combo, something was going to happen because he was a sensation. And he just wanted to do Blues Traveler. And Eric Schenkman, the guitar player of the Spin Doctors, was also bugging him to do a project. And John introduced Eric and I in the hopes that we would get together and form a band and leave him alone. So Eric and I immediately had an incredible musical chemistry. And, Eric and I really are kind of like musical soulmates, and it was evident from the very beginning. So it was very providential, both of us being friends with John, because he's the guy who introduced us. And then from there, Eric found Aaron, our drummer. He heard him practicing in a practice room at the music conservatory we were all studying at. And he knocked on the door and was like, "Hey, I got a band. You want to be in our band?" And Aaron was like, "Okay, this guy's weird, but yeah, sure." And, the rest is kind of history. So, yeah, Princeton, Blues Traveler, couple bad band names, and a couple people pestering a guy who was destined to be a star, John Popper, and John Popper made an introduction, and now I don't have to do a normal job for a living.
That is awesome. I was going to say it's great when things work out like that. I just feel bad because I can't remember if it was Chan or Tad, but I had one of them on earlier this season.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Lovely Princeton boys. They're very well behaved.
Yeah, they were really nice.
Yeah,
I just remember it was one of the two brothers, and they did a great interview. It was phenomenal because they were in town for Riverbend, and of course we wanted to invite Blues Traveler on, and unfortunately John couldn't make it, so they're like, "Yeah, we can get," and I'm like, "That works too. Shoot, any of the members would be great to have on."
That's awesome. Yeah, he's a slippery one.
Oh gosh,
hard to nail him down.
Definitely, it happens. Let's see. So, unfortunately, you healed with it. Your vocal cords, I understand, were paralyzed at one point. How'd that happen?
It's what doctors call idiopathic, which is doctor for like, we don't know why this happens. So, yeah, I had a spontaneous paralysis of my right vocal cord, and I couldn't sing or talk normally for a year. So that was sort of a nightmare. I did everything from yoga to like talk therapy to meditation to acupuncture. When I have a problem, I have an approach that I call throwing the book at it. And I basically just, every single solution I can think of, I go after, with all of the energy that I have all at once. And so I don't really know what brought it back. I went to a speech pathologist. A lot of people think speech pathologists are like, just for speech impediments, but they also help you with just the basic, production of sound in your throat as well. So I just did all kinds of stuff, tons of vocal exercises. And then at the end of the year, I went to my doctor and I was talking just like I am now. And he was like, let's scope those vocal cords, man. It sounds great. I can't wait to see that vocal cord moving around. And he was like, huh? And I was like, what? And he was like, your vocal cord is still largely immobile. And I was like, how is that possible? And he was like, he's like, I've never seen anything like this. You seem to have figured out how to brace the immobile vocal cord against the working vocal cord and sing and talk again. And I was like, so what are you saying? And he's like, you have some mobility in the right vocal cord, but it's only in one direction, and basically you shouldn't be able to sing. I don't know how you did this. So I went home and told my wife, and she was like, only you would figure out how to sing with one vocal cord. She calls me the king of mind over matter.
Nice.
So yeah, actually, so my solo record is called Angels and One-Armed Jugglers, and I actually wrote that song before this whole kind of thing happened. But sometimes I think you write lyrics, or I write lyrics, and they sort of come true in these strange, oblique kind of ways. So I was, recording that song right after I got my voice back, and I was thinking Angels and One-Armed Jugglers, and it really reminded me of the kind of struggle to sing again, and then learning how to sing, but actually learning how to sing without actually getting full mobility of my vocal cords back. So, that's, it's a very strange chapter. I haven't had my vocal cords scanned in a really long time, so I don't know if they've come back, if I've gained more mobility back since then or what, but I'm definitely singing, the same as I used to sing, maybe even better, because I really work hard on my singing. I've always worked really hard on my singing. I take voice lessons, I take guitar lessons. I'm sort of a coaching junkie. I've been in therapy for over 20 years. Anything that I think I can get better at, I generally, talk to an expert about getting better at it, because I really find, somebody who really knows what they're doing and can give you some lessons, can help you make a lot of progress much more quickly and help keep you from beating your head against the wall. Even when somebody gives you good, tuition, it's still difficult to implement what they're saying. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of times, I'll take a guitar lesson, and my teacher who died actually a while, 10 months ago, so I haven't got a new teacher yet, but Woody Mann was my guitar teacher, and he would give me something to play, and I'd be like, I'm not going to be able to play that. And he'd be like, yeah, you will. Just do it, a couple notes at a time, and just work your way slowly through it. And, if you take that kind of an approach, you can really tackle anything. But you have to cope with the frustration of it. And if you don't have somebody helping you, a lot of people are really good at teaching themselves stuff, but if I don't have somebody who's kind of like, telling me what to do and showing me a systematic way to kind of make progress at something, I get frustrated and I don't have faith, sometimes that I'm working on the right thing. But if somebody's like, try this, I'm like, I tell anybody I'm working with, I'm like, don't tell me to jump out the window, because I will jump out the window if you tell me to, because I'm an overachiever and a brown noser, really.
That is awesome. I mean, shoot, that is a great lesson for all of our listeners that, despite already being a professional and, at the top of your game, top of your field, you still get lessons, you still improve yourself. And I think that's one thing that all people can learn is there's always room for improvement, no matter what.
Well, yeah. And, when you think about it, like the further along you get, the more help you need. You don't see, an athlete getting into the NFL and then being like, okay, I'm in the NFL. I no longer need coaching. The further along you're getting, the more you need people who are studying, the specifics of the specifics of what you're doing, because any job that you're trying to do, you can divide it into a bunch of different skills. So I'm the lead singer in a band, but I have to be physically fit, and I have to sing on a professional level, and I have to I write the lyrics, so I need to be making sure that I'm keeping my lyric writing sharp, and then that's totally different from composing music. I have to kind of stay on top of my skills as a composer as well. So you're trying to it's a lot. Any one of those things is kind of a big project, and you save a lot of time when you are working with people who just teach that. Then they can take a look at what you're doing. I'll never forget my first lesson with Woody, the first guitar lesson with him. He was like, okay, let's work with this. And he showed me a piece of music, and I wasn't getting it at all. And he's like, okay, forget that. You're a singer. You're going to be more responsive to a melodic, something with a melody. And this was just a finger picking pattern that he was showing me. He was like, let me show you something that has more of a melody. And immediately, the piece that he showed me then, I was able to pick up on it much quicker. And, if I had just sat down and looked at YouTube and tried to be like, okay, I'm going to learn this thing, I might have gotten really frustrated and not really gotten anywhere, and not really been working on something that was going to get me as directly to the next stage, as I need to be, so, somebody who's teaching can take one look at what you're doing and be like, okay, here's where you're strong, here's where you're weak, and I'm going to show you how to get stronger at the weak stuff while strengthening the strong stuff.
Awesome. Yeah.
Whereas you might just beat your head against the wall,
Exactly. Yeah, that is cool. Yeah, shoot, we'll have to have you on back in early January to talk more about, if you're working on any new albums, and to definitely to talk more about the Ludlow Garage in Cincinnati, Ohio on Friday, January 13th. I mean, shoot.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Hey, I just want to say before we get off that the Spin Doctors are still together. And we're, totally kicking ass. We got a new record coming out next year, and, in the new year, 2023. And, so, sometimes when you're doing a solo thing, people think that the band has broken up, but the Spin Doctors are very much together. And this is just, playing alone, me playing solo acoustic shows is just something I really like to do. And, I have a small following of people who really enjoy me playing that way, and so it's but in no way a signal that there's anything going on with the Spin Doctors, because those guys are my besties.
Nice.
They're my BFFs.
Well, Chris, before we let you go, where on social media, where on the web, where can we find more out about you and the Spin Doctors?
Well, I am on Twitter. I'm the Chris Barron on Twitter, and it's Barron. The double R is for rock and roll. It's corny, but no one ever forgets it. And I'm on Instagram. I'm the Chris Barron _ because somebody stole my handle. Somebody threw me off Instagram for a day and then stole my handle, and then I've never been able to get it back. So I'm the Chris Barron _ on Instagram, and the Chris Barron on Twitter. The Chris Barron on Twitter.
That is awesome. Thank you for joining us today.
Hey, thank you so much, James. Appreciate it.
Appliance Factory in Mattress Kingdom has products in stock and available to take home today. With 5 stores and almost 40 years in business, they are Ohio's appliance experts, and they help you to get the right product at the right price with a huge inventory. You can save 30 to 60% every day on everything from Bosch and Viking to LG, GE, and KitchenAid at unbeatable savings and in stock. Plus, Mattress Kingdom inside Appliance Factory has everything from Tempur-Pedic and Sealy, Stearns & Foster, and Dream Cloud mattresses in stock. Stop by any one of Appliance Factory and Mattress Kingdom's 5 Ohio locations today, or visit online at appliancefactory.com.
Good morning, Dreamhouse Nation. James Lewis of TDH joining us from Wridz is Ryan Gettys. Ryan, thank you for joining us today.
Hey, thanks for having me, James. I appreciate it.
I was leaving the Bengals game the other day, and I thought, well, shoot, I don't want to drive because I've had a couple beers. What can I do? How can I get home? But I don't want to pay those outrageous fees. I don't want to pay those spiking charges. Who can I call? And I think Wridz was the perfect answer. So what is Wridz?
Well, don't drink and drive. Take a ride with Wridz. That's what we say. Kind of corny, but Wridz is it's a software company that offers an app to rideshare drivers and passengers. We ask for a membership fee from the driver. It's a nominal fee that would equate to, 2 to 8% of their total fare per month, as opposed to 40 to 60% like Uber and Lyft take every day.
Oh,
so
wow.
That's what we do. We offer this exceptionally well-run app to these guys, and we help market and build their business.
So is that why Wridz is the evolution of rideshare?
You got it. So they are legitimately their own boss. They control how much they drive. They aren't knocked for, canceling, or not canceling, but, by not taking a certain trip that maybe is out of their way. There is actually a grading system on the competitors' app that if you don't do exactly what they want, then you get downgraded. But we don't have that. You have the ability to build your own business within our app. And that means regulars, that means relationships with corporate. It's really unique. And then, so, after the cost of business, whether it be insurance, taxes, or payment processing fees, these guys keep 100% of the profit.
Nice. So how did Wridz get started?
Well, I got started about 4 years ago. A gentleman by the name of Steve Wright was kicking around an idea. I had a couple friends that were in tech down in Austin, and they said they could build the app. And 4 years later, they did. And
nice.
Yeah.
And then why did you bring it to Ohio?
Well, my best friend, brother in the world, lives in Austin. He's friends with the creator. And he was from Cincinnati and knew that I would be a great fit for launching the company up here. He was one of the initial investors. His name is Greg. And so Greg called me and said, hey, bud, I've got a great opportunity for you. What do you think? So I looked it over, did some research. I truly do believe it's a home run. And I accepted, and I became a partner and launched in May. It's been an adventure. Startups always are. But all said and done, it's been really good.
I mean, it seems like a win for the drivers. It seems like a win for the passengers. I mean, it seems like just a win for everybody.
Yeah. The difference between us is we have safety mechanisms built into the app where there's the SOS feature for the driver. You can match your phone screen to your driver's screen. If you're a passenger, you just hit a button. It lights up a number with a color code. And your driver will have the same screen on his phone. So if you're at Riverbend and you're looking for your driver, you just hold your phone up. And between the two of you, you'll find each other much easier than just hopping into a car and hoping that that's your driver. You know what I mean? And that's what happens with the competitors.
Yeah, that is awesome. Yeah, shoot. The missus, she went to what was that darn thing? That Motley Crue concert that was here not too long ago with Poison, all of them. And trying to find the driver was a pain in the neck. But so I had to go down and get her. But shoot, with Wridz, like you said, it'd be a lot easier to find the driver.
Yeah, and the other safety mechanism is that, being the region owner, I meet every single driver. I look at all of their cars. If there are issues, people could call me. I literally give my number on a card to drivers and passengers, to anyone that I meet. I'm not scared to be of service to them and to allow them to ask the questions or to give me input or to even take suggestions. So that really does help. Not to mention we drug test. The competitors don't drug test. So that really does help differentiate us between the two.
So where in Ohio does it operate? Is it just Ohio, or are listeners in Kentucky and Indiana eligible as well?
Oh, yeah, for sure. So we've got our region that is open right now is Dayton, Cincinnati to northern Kentucky, which would include CVG. We just launched in Columbus 2 weeks ago, which is going gangbusters. Indianapolis will be online the first of the year, which will help out considerably. Chicago is online. So this Midwest region is really starting to grow. And the more that people know about us from city to city, the more synergy we'll have. So that'll really help create more business at the airport, for instance.
Nice. And then, of course, I understand the Dreamhouse Nation can download the app with both Android and Apple. Is that correct?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. iOS/iPhone and Android are, totally applicable.
And like you said, you've done things to ensure the passenger's safety. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, with the criminal background checks that are updated yearly, which is kind of a standard for the business, that's where you get really kind of a deep dive into what's going on with your driver. And, with regards to just a face-to-face meeting, I'm able to meet these guys, get an understanding of who they are, make sure that they have what I would consider a high level of integrity. And that really helps because I know, my list of drivers. We've got over 280 drivers. And I've met every one of them. So, I consider that a massive improvement compared to the competitors.
And then, of course, the other thing our listeners love about you, that you're 10% lower in rates.
Surge pricing. Yeah.
Yep.
You got it. And on average, about 10% lower. No surge pricing. So if you're leaving the game and the competitors are surging, 200%, we're still the same. And, you can see on Facebook, Ride Cincinnati, where we will post rates from certain areas of the town down to the stadium and or down to CVG. You can compare our rates, and you'll see that we are 100% cheaper every day.
That is awesome. And I love how you listen to your passengers and you listen to your drivers.
Yeah. I mean, you have to. It's like they say, you want to surround yourself with the smartest people in the room. And who else knows this business any better than I do? Well, that's the drivers and the passengers. And, without their input, we'd have nothing, I think. We would just be operating like the other guys.
Nice. And then, of course, the drivers love the fact that they're able to keep 100% of their fares, booking fees and tips.
Yeah. And just like I said before, after the cost of business, whether that be insurance, taxes, or processing fees, they keep 100% of the profit. The competitors are taking anywhere from 30 to 60%, if not more, of these guys' fares on a regular, per trip basis. We don't do that. And so our nominal fee, which is a membership fee that we charge the drivers, is nothing compared to what these guys are paying out every day to Uber and Lyft.
Exactly. So, gosh, in a once-a-month fee, you can pay less or, the same amount as what you would normally be paying in a day or week with the competitor. Wow. I mean, it sounds like a win-win situation. So now how do our listeners, how do the Dreamhouse Nation, how do they sign up to become drivers with you?
Well, you can go to wridz.com, rides.com, and you can go up to driver sign up. If you're only interested in being a passenger, of course, you could just sign up as a passenger, download the app at your app store. Once you sign up as a driver, it will prompt you to do the first 3 steps, the third most significant step being the background check. Once you pass your background check, it'll prompt you another 14 steps. You set a schedule. With me, you schedule your appointment, and all said and done, that's all about a week. It takes about 2 to 3 days to get your background check, and I onboard drivers every Wednesday at the Oak Tavern up in Oakley.
Sounds awesome. Sounds great. And then, of course, our listeners definitely need to experience rides during the holiday, during any type of concerts, sporting events, all those type of great things, New Year's Eve, and just enjoy them in the 2023s. It sounds great.
Yeah, and we ask that as we grow, you continue to give us the opportunity to make your holiday a safe and affordable experience.
Excellent. So before we let you go, Ryan, where on social media, where on the web, where can we find out more about rides?
You're going to check us out on Ride Cincinnati and Facebook. Generally speaking, WRIDZ.com, rides.com is our website. We're also on Instagram, Ride Cincinnati on Insta. And shoot us a slide into our DM and give us a hey, what's up?
Nice. Well, it's been a pleasure having you on the show today.
Hey, thanks a lot, man. I appreciate it.
Appliance Factory and Mattress Kingdom has products in stock and available to take home today. With 5 stores and almost 40 years in business, they are Ohio's appliance experts, and they help you to get the right product at the right price with a huge inventory. You can save 30 to 60% every day on everything from Bosch and Viking to LG, GE, and KitchenAid at unbeatable savings and in stock. Plus, Mattress Kingdom inside Appliance Factory has everything from Tempur-Pedic and Sealy, Stearns & Foster, and DreamCloud mattresses in stock. Stop by any one of Appliance Factory and Mattress Kingdom's 5 Ohio locations today or visit online at appliancefactory.com.
Good morning, Dreamhouse Nation. James Lewis of TDH joining us today from LFC is Brooke Gilley. Brooke, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to talking to you guys.
So what sports did you play when you were growing up?
Oh, I did all sorts of sports. I was pretty active. I did volleyball, basketball, cheerleading for a little bit. I didn't get into MMA until I was about 19 years old.
Is that around the time you started the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu?
It is. And so they had a couple different combat sports teams in Gillette, Wyoming, which is where I'm living now. And everybody was getting into it. They were training. We had a fighting promotion, a really small one here in town called Ring Wars. And I went to a couple of the fights, and I was like, man, I like this a lot. I got to check this out. So I went over to a guy's garage, actually, that everybody was training in that he'd put mats in, and it was the Zombie Fist fight team. And I trained with Drew and those guys, and they were so welcoming. It was awesome. And that's been my experience with most people that fight in combat sports, is they're willing to, work with you, teach you things, show you their art, and then in exchange, you teach them some things. It was a pretty awesome experience, and I just kind of took it from there and kept going.
I agree with you. The MMA community is a great community of people to work with because, like you said, they're always willing to reach out. They're always willing to try new things, and they're always willing to help others. So I think it is a really great community when it comes to building the organization, building the brand, and building just the fun of it.
Absolutely. I don't think I've ever had anyone not be willing to help. So, and especially, with the LFC, all female sports tend to not go very well. I played roller derby for a while in my early 20s, and with an all female team, it got interesting. But the girls that fight with LFC, it's like a family. We're all out here training hard and standing up for women, being able to wear what they want when they fight, and encouraging all body types, all backgrounds. We're just a big family. It's pretty awesome.
That is awesome. It sounds like the LFC is very empowering and very body positive.
Extremely. We have girls that are all shapes and sizes.
So where did the nickname come from?
So when I first got with LFC, we decided that we were going to let the fans pick my nickname. So we put a post up on LFC's Facebook page, and one of the fans actually came up with it.
Neat.
Yeah, so that was a pretty cool one. I was like, I don't really know what rhymes with Gilley or what would go in there good. And someone said guillotine, and chokes have been my thing since I first started Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
That's what I was thinking. Wasn't that your first win was guillotine?
Yep, that was it. When I was first learning, I have pretty strong upper body, and learned a couple chokes, and I was like, the guys that I was training with couldn't get out of them. And I was like, yep, this is my niche.
Nice. So where do you currently train?
I'm currently training here in Gillette. I am in the process of switching to a new coach. I haven't announced it yet, but I'm going to be training down in Florida, down by Miami, here within the next couple of months. So I'll be down there for a while to do a couple fight camps. And then we're possibly looking at something a little bit longer than just interim training camps. So I'm looking forward to that one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was going to say, that's got to be nice going down there to Florida and just all the fun that comes with that.
Oh, and the culture down there. So I love Florida. Every time I went to Florida, I've had such a great time, especially down there by Miami. You know, I live in the mountains. So anytime I get to go to the ocean, I'm like, yes, this is a win.
Definitely. How has your coaches prepared you for the LFC and other forms of combat?
You know, outside of just training and being prepared for my fights, and all of my coaches, every person that I've worked with, has really helped me mentally prepare and build confidence for when, because, you know, all of us get nervous before we go in. I don't care if you fought 100 times or it's your first time, that doesn't go away. And so right before a fight, it's awesome to have good coaches that are really good about, you know, uplifting you, building your confidence and backing you up. So I think that's the biggest, is the mental encouragement and building me up that way.
Now, we've had people on to talk about the LFC before, but what is it to you? What is the LFC?
To me, the LFC is, well, like I said before, definitely family, but I think it is empowering for women. And I love the inclusion with all the girls. You know, I've been interviewed a couple times and they start to say things like, oh, well, there's some bigger girls on there. And you just shut them down right away, because the heart that's there and the bonds that you make with them, that's what's the most important to me with LFC. And Sean's amazing too. We love him.
Definitely. Yeah, Sean has been a pleasure to work with. And then, of course, the FC part obviously is the most important part of it, where, you know, shoot, people, you know, like they were saying, you know, there might be some girls of different body types, but that's the great thing about your organization, as opposed to some of the other fighting organizations where they seem to be very limited in the weight classes that they have. You all seem to be a little bit more open there.
Yep, and that's what's exciting too, is because I've gotten to fight with girls that are way out of my weight class or a little under my weight class. And so you get a lot more, what's the word I'm looking for? Coffee hasn't quite kicked in for me yet.
No worries. I'm thinking interesting and unique matchups is probably what.
Thank you. Good word usage there. But, you know, when I fight normal combat sports like MMA style, not with the LFC, where they do have the restrictions on the weight classes, I fight 145, and there is hardly any 145 fighters. UFC, all them, Bellator, they have troubles finding 145s too. So it's nice to know that I can fight more frequently because I'm not limited by the weight requirement.
I know what you mean. Yeah, I always thought that was kind of an odd thing that they had such limited classes or such limited amounts of performers, because I think there are people of all body types that would be interested in participating in MMA.
Mm-hmm. And there are, and it's a great way to get girls that might not be confident about it because they don't look like the girls that they see on Bellator or UFC. And it's a great way to get their foot in the door and help them get into shape and build their confidence. And we're just all about empowering women. And that's just the best part of it.
That is awesome. How did it feel to make your LFC debut in your hometown in front of the crowd at Sturgis Motorcycle Rally?
It was amazing. So I've been going to Sturgis since I was 18. I've got quite a few years down there at the Buffalo Chip. And when Sean reached out and he was like, you want to fight in Sturgis? I was like, yes. What venue? And he said the Buffalo Chip. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. I had friends that were down here from North Dakota for it. I had friends that came down with me from Kalispell, Montana. So I had a really awesome support crowd, and it was cool to be able to have my, you know, long-term friends come out and see me and not have to spend a bunch to travel to like Florida or Vegas.
The crazy thing, though, is I understand that you had a busy couple of days. You had a fight on the first night and the third night, and the middle night you were the referee. How were you able to work 3 events in 3 nights?
I went to bed early, which usually doesn't happen in Sturgis at all, and drank lots of water. And, Sean's really good about a really good schedule, the way things are going. So I just kind of toughed through it. The reffing was really fun. That was my first time getting to ref. And I like how you control the flow of like how the fights go and keeping everybody safe and making sure everybody's doing things right. And that was a really, really cool experience. And I'm really hoping I get to do it again.
Originally, when I prepared for this interview, I had the question, when is the next LFC event? But the great news is, I already know that answer now. The LFC 37 on Valentine's Day. How do you feel to be fighting on Valentine's Day?
Well, it's my least favorite holiday, so super stoked. I finally have something to do on Valentine's Day.
Oh, shoot. I doubt you all have issues of trying to find something to do on Valentine's Day. I'm sure you have plenty of people knocking on your door, inviting you to go get coffee or whatever people do nowadays. I don't know. I've been married 13 years. I don't know how people date, but I'm sure they probably still do.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the holiday because I think you should love someone every day of the year and show them that they're appreciated. So.
That is true. That is awesome. So who will you be fighting?
I do not know my next opponent yet. I know that Sean is going to be getting it to us here super soon, so I'm excited to find out. I'm hoping soon I get a title shot, Sean.
Exactly. We'll have to put that bug in his ear that you did such a great job with the interview. We need to get you a title shot going there.
Exactly.
So who would be your dream opponent? I guess the current champ?
Yeah, Jolene would be awesome to get in with. Her and I are on the same team. So I don't know what Sean would have to finagle to make that happen. But I think Jennifer Thomas would be awesome.
So one of you probably would have to be traded. What team are you currently on?
I'm on the pink team.
So you're
we
on
have
the
a pink team, a blue team, and a black team. And
Nice.
the blue team is our newest team. They added the blue team last year because we're growing. So we needed to add some more in there.
That and then some shenanigans went on where one of the fighters, the young lady that I have in a couple weeks, she ended up beating up her coach, I understand, or hitting him with a birthday cake. So they made her coach of the new blue team.
Yep, that's Aubrey. She's a hoot.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one because they were telling me about the different aspects of it, from her opponent trying to cause her wardrobe malfunction to her beating up the coach with cake to her becoming a coach. And I think it's just an interesting story arc.
Oh man! And when I was reffing, and she was on ringside, she was in the ring. She was walking over and messing with the other coach. She was grabbing other female fighters. I mean, she is entertaining for sure. Nice.
That is awesome. And then, of course, when you're not doing the fighting in the ring, you are fighting in a courtroom, I understand. Where are you considering studying your law?
Well, this last year in January, I was accepted to Harvard Law and Columbia and the University of Wyoming. And I haven't fully made up my mind where I'm going to go next fall, but I'm thinking probably going to keep it home and go to University of Wyoming because I plan to practice here in Wyoming. And I kind of just think it would work good. Wyoming has really small, tight-knit communities. And I think, coming as an alumni from University of Wyoming would look really good on my resume.
Definitely. Now, of course, I'm sure you're going to get a lot of these comparisons, and I might not even be the first one to make this comparison, but you're a fighter who studies law. She-Hulk probably gets compared.
That's what my son said when it came out. He's like, Mom, she's a lawyer.
Exactly. She's a lawyer. She's strong. She's empowered. That sounds pretty much like you, I'm thinking.
I'm digging it, and my favorite color is green, so this could play into something here soon.
Nice. I was going to say maybe make that a theme night or something one of the nights. And
if Sean does another Halloween bout, that is absolutely what I'm going to do.
That would be awesome. Actually, yeah, I think the third one is, because there's one in October. Or the fourth event this year will be, or in 2023 is in October. So yeah, hopefully he'll be able to incorporate that in.
That would be awesome.
Now, once that you've graduated, I understand you're interested in becoming the LFC's lawyer.
I absolutely would love to do that. They've got fight contracts, and I've got a marketing background too. So I think it would roll over really well to working with Sean and with the LFC.
Nice. And with that, once you're the lawyer, would you still compete, or at that point would you step down from fighting?
As long as I'm physically capable of fighting, I will be in that ring.
Nice. And then I understand one of the things that when you're not fighting, you're not doing your studying, you're into sledding. Tell us a little bit about that.
I've been snowmobiling since I was 7, 8 years old, and that's my zen moment. We go up to the Bighorn Mountains here. We'll go to Cook City up in Montana. We're up there pretty much every weekend that they have good snow. We ride in the backcountry. My daughter snowmobiles too. She's 14, and she can keep right up with us. So we love being out there in the mountains on snowmobiles, hanging out with friends. It's a great time. And, it pushes you too, because you're up there at 11,000 feet when you're in Cook City, and you can't breathe very well, and the peaks are really tall and steep, and it's an adrenaline rush. It's amazing. If you haven't been snowmobiling, you got to go.
That is awesome. Before we let you go, Brooke, where on social media, where on the web, where can we find out more about you? Where can we find about the LFC?
So I have Facebook, Brooke Gilley, and then my Instagram is @GilleyBrooke. And then I have TikTok, which is @Brooke Gilley.
That is awesome. It has been a pleasure having you on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
Appliance Factory and Mattress Kingdom has products in stock and available to take home today. With 5 stores and almost 40 years in business, they are Ohio's appliance experts, and they help you to get the right product at the right price with a huge inventory. You can save 30 to 60% every day on everything from Bosch and Viking to LG, GE, and KitchenAid at unbeatable savings and in stock. Plus, Mattress Kingdom inside Appliance Factory has everything from Tempur-Pedic and Sealy, Stearns & Foster, and DreamCloud mattresses in stock. Stop by any one of Appliance Factory and Mattress Kingdom's 5 Ohio locations today, or visit online at appliancefactory.com.
Good morning, Dreamhouse Nation. James Lewis of TDH. Joining us today is the artist Julia Porman. Julia, thank you for joining us today.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for having me.
When did you start writing poems?
So I started when I was really young, and then a lot of them just ended up evolving into songs, probably around middle school.
So which is your favorite poem that you've written?
I wish I could remember all of the words because I wrote it back in high school, but it was titled Love is a Revolving Door. And I wrote it about love being a fluid and continuous emotion. Even if there's some people that come and go, I don't think love ever truly leaves us.
Oh, nice. Yeah, so the feeling of love lasting longer than the person, in other words.
Yeah, exactly. And I think even if, people enter our lives, they bring us, certain elements of love, and then maybe they exit and are no longer part of our life. That doesn't mean that, that love doesn't still exist or maybe evolve towards somebody else, or we give it back to ourselves. But I think it's always there.
Speaking of love, and I think this is one that hasn't yet left your life, when is the first time you fell in love with music?
Probably around the age of 3 or 4. And there's actually videos of me dancing and screaming to Alanis Morissette's You Ought to Know in my living room. Still has footage of that, but I'm still inspired by her today.
Yeah, shoot. She's a great performer and has done so many wonderful things over the years.
Yes, absolutely agree.
So tell us about your single, Already Got It.
Yeah, so it's my first single in over a decade, and I really wrote it about kind of turning inward when we're yearning for approval or appreciation, really recognizing that validation and happiness in general aren't found in a social or economic status or how we look. It's really about being at peace with who you are.
What is your creation process?
I'd say it's always a bit different. If I'm writing about myself or a past experience, I try to dive back into a memory and kind of bring forward a story that might be worth telling. Or if I'm just inspired by something in the moment, I'll just start writing about how I'm feeling, or something that maybe just happened. But it usually starts with a melody and maybe a simple phrase, and then kind of expands from there. And I typically write to my guitar as well.
I understand that Already Got It was inspired by a bike raid. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I was riding my bike in a neighborhood not too far from where I live, and I was really just kind of taken back by comparing myself and what I had compared to what a lot of these people had, which was, much bigger house, nicer cars, closer to the beach, kids in the backyard. And, and it was during that the song was starting to be born. Really just started kind of telling myself that, this comparison thing is not really feeding my soul. And I really need to start diving into healing that part of me that wants to compare.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's one of those things that no matter where you look, the grass is always going to be greener in some way.
Yes, and that's what I always say too when I'm playing live. I'm like, this next song is to cure your grass is greener syndrome.
Nice. And then what was it like working with Nick and Michael?
Yeah, so Nick was a fantastic engineer. I'd love to work with him again. In fact, he's worked on most of my songs so far that I still haven't released yet. And he works at Lake House Studio, and Michael Fossenkemper was great as well. He did the mastering, and he worked really quickly, and I think he delivered a beautiful final product. So overall, I'm very happy.
How great is it to record at Rose Dome Studios?
So Danny, my producer, did most of his instrumental tracking at Rose Dome. He did some at Lake House where I did my vocals as well. But I did most of my recording at Lake House in Asbury. So I loved it. I loved it there. They have a beautiful facility, but we have a new single coming out in January, and that one will be recorded entirely at Rose Dome. So I'm very excited about that.
Nice. And then Danny and Chris, are they the other members of the band?
At this moment, I just have Danny and Chris locked in, and we're still kind of figuring out, who else is going to, who else we want part of our band. But yeah, it's been a really fun process, and I can't wait to iron all of that out and get out there and start playing some shows. Awesome.
So in other words, you're still taking auditions.
Yes, I guess we could say that.
Ooh, I could be a band member. Yay!
What do you play?
I don't, and I don't sing, so I'm not sure how I could be a band member, but I guess the tambourine.
You could be a great band.
Yeah, I could be a roadie. That could work.
There you go.
So, how much fun was it to shoot the music video?
Oh, the music video was so fun. Honestly, it was probably one of the coolest experiences that I've had in my life so far. The fact that I got to record it with a bunch of my friends was just really awesome. And to be able to put a visual to how I had been feeling and some of the experiences that I had gone through was just an amazing thing that I could give that a visual, give my words a visual. And I'm just super grateful for that. It was an awesome experience. And working with Art in the Chaos was just great. Stephen Nathan and Steve Michaels are both just fantastic to work with.
So it really feels like you're all about expressing your true emotions and experiences to your listeners.
Oh, definitely. I think authenticity is super important. I think that's really what resonates with people. I think people can smell when something's not true.
Where were some of the settings for your music video?
So it started in Deal, New Jersey on a beach. That's where I did all of those beach scenes. And then we moved eventually to the downtown area of Asbury Park. And then actually we did a scene at the bakery there where I have the cake being decorated. And that was at Confections of a Rock Star. And that's also in Asbury Park.
Nice. And I bet you they probably got all kinds of great desserts and treats and stuff.
Oh, absolutely. They're fantastic.
What do you struggle with looking outside of yourself?
I think everyone has that little voice that talks to them like they're weak or unworthy. And I think its purpose is to help us grow and expand, but we have to recognize that first. And then we can actually be grateful for it and keep it at bay. But if we don't understand why it's there, it can be a dangerous road to let that voice kind of rule your thoughts and your actions. So this is part of my healing journey, was writing this song.
Why has your single Already Got It resonated with fans in such a strong way?
Well, I wanted to reemerge into the music scene with a message that would be empowering. And I think we've been through enough suffering the last 3 years, and I think people are seeking peace and prioritizing their well-being maybe more than before. So I think people just really resonate with that healing message. And yeah, I think that's why.
Yeah, I mean, it really feels like your music's not just, for the benefit of the listeners, but it's also very therapeutic to yourself. Is that the case?
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
How does self-exploration help people to heal?
Well, I think we need to know more about our own defense mechanisms maybe and learn why we think or react the way we do. And then we can learn to rewire those parts of our own minds and create a better life experience for ourselves. It doesn't take away the triggers or the tragedies that might happen to us, but it does allow us to be more in control of how we feel. And I think that's super important.
So where does true peace come from?
Well, I think peace is always there. I think there are so many distractions, in the everyday world that pull us away from it all day long. But I think peace is a constant state that we can always tap back into no matter what the world is doing around us. I think that's why meditation is so important, and I need to do more of it.
You mentioned another single coming out in 2023. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yes, a little bit. So yeah, it'll be released in. I'm aiming for like the first week of January, the first full week of January. I don't have a locked in date yet, but I will be announcing that on my Instagram and all my my website and socials and all that. But this one is definitely a bit more upbeat, a bit more poppy, a little more indie. So it's going to be really, really fun. I'm super excited about it. I really can't wait to share it.
Sounds great. Julia, before we let you go, where on social media, where on the web, where can our listeners find out more about you?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I have a website. It's just my first and last name. That's Julia Poorman, and that's poor man, just like it sounds. So it's juliapoorman.com. And then I have an Instagram page that's just at Julia_Poorman. And they can find me on Spotify as well. Just look me up, just Julia Poorman.
Sounds great, Julia. It's been a pleasure having you on the show today.
Oh, absolutely, James. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Appliance Factory and Mattress Kingdom has products in stock and available to take home today. With 5 stores and almost 40 years in business, they are Ohio's appliance experts, and they help you to get the right product at the right price with a huge inventory. You can save 30 to 60% every day on everything from Bosch and Viking to LG, GE, and KitchenAid at unbeatable savings and in stock. Plus, Mattress Kingdom inside Appliance Factory has everything from Tempur-Pedic and Sealy, Stearns & Foster, and DreamCloud mattresses in stock. Stop by any one of Appliance Factory and Mattress Kingdom's 5 Ohio locations today or visit online at appliancefactory.com.
Thank you for tuning in to this Dream House, brought to you by Appliance Factory and Mattress Kingdom. We look forward to seeing you again next week.